Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Table brought to you by the Blues Table. I am your host, Luke Burkamp, and tonight we got Theo again. Theo, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Um, Finally, preseason's ended, and now we can focus on the regular season. And we got some pretty hot takes up on deck, and I'm excited to get to it.
Yeah, so as Theo mentioned, today is going to be our hot takes episode, where since it's in between the preseason and the regular season, a lot more clarity is going on. We know a lot more who has what job because the rosters just got cut down to 53. So we're going to give you our hot takes for this upcoming season, and we're going to just go through the news and notes of all the madness that's been happening the past couple of days with roster cuts and waivers and everything like that. So starting off with the news and notes, biggest one of the weekend, crazy. Brian Robinson got shot multiple times. Now this was like literally just like 2 hours after it was announced that he was going to get the starting job. So absolutely crazy. Thankfully, like first of all, thankfully he survived. Like getting shot multiple times is crazy enough, but like he was pretty fine. They said they got shot like multiple times in the like in the leg area,
hmm
but
I
they
heard that there was a report that I read that said a bullet went through his knee, but somehow missed every single severe ligament
yeah
that it could
miss
have
yeah
damaged. That
yeah
is
miss like the
extremely
ligaments,
lucky.
yeah the ligaments and the joints. So I'm just like
hmm
he got pretty lucky. I know that they've reported multiple times about how that he's probably going to return to the field sooner than what you would expect. So yeah, I I I hate that we
I
have to
don't.
talk like fantasy into this, but like
Yeah,
because obviously like Brian Robinson the person means a lot more than what he does in fantasy football. But like this obviously will have an impact on like Antonio Gibson, JD McKissick, and Brian Robinson himself. But I mean, just for the fact that he's going to like return sometime this season and probably the early season from what they're saying, like that's amazing.
and for how well he played in the preseason, well, I really hope it doesn't affect his regular season performance because that would be very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I gotta say, like I said, like literally 2 hours before, like they thought he was going to be a starting running back this year. Like that's why Antonio Gibson's been on kick returns. So yeah, so they want him to be their primary running back. Just hopefully nothing was like too severely damaged that he can still be able to do that.
hmm
Now the next biggest news, Kenyon Drake is signing with the Ravens. This is interesting to me because to me this puts a lot more doubt on J.K. Dobbins. The Ravens have been pushing to get running back depth. I know Gus Edwards is now on the PUP. Dobbins week one is still uncertain. Um, I really think that this puts him more in doubt because early in the offseason they were trying to get Melvin Gordon in. And when Melvin Gordon went back to Denver, now they're bringing in Mike Davis. Now they're bringing in Kenyon Drake. I think to me it's a good fit for Drake because he's probably going to get a lot of work here in the early season. Because even if Dobbins is healthy enough to play week one, I don't foresee him getting like 20 carries or anything like that. And I can see Drake getting like 10 to 15 touches in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope Kenny Drake is able to get back to his Miami roots and where he was a very solid pass catching back. And with Gus Edwards gone, I know Gus Edwards is a pretty efficient rusher as well as J.K. Dobbins. They worked in tandem together, but I don't really see the positives in bringing Kenyon Drake as an efficient rusher to replace Edwards. So it seems kind of temporary to me. I mean, of course, you'll still have J.K. Dobbins as the main guy, but taking away touches in the backfield, especially in the third down, where it gets more crucial. You have red zone situations, stuff like that. It's it's a little worrying for J.K. Dobbins, but I wouldn't bring him too low on your rankings. I mean, a lot of other rankings have him pretty low already, expecting Edwards to take some of the snaps. So not much change really, but just something to keep an eye out for sure.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think Drake is more likely a Gus Edwards replacement for the early part of the season. It's just it still gives me some worry that JK is not as healthy as what he was making it
Yeah.
seem on Twitter, to where, oh yeah, he's going to be fully ready by week one. I know just like 20 minutes before we started recording, there's a video going around on Twitter of JK doing something there practice and having a pretty noticeable limp afterwards. So
Mm. I did not
yeah,
see that. Yeah, see, I stayed off Twitter a bit because I was busy, but I just kind of hopped on here and I did not see that. So
yeah, I watched the video. He does have a very noticeable limp whenever he's done with his one session, which I mean it wasn't like it was a running drill either. I'm pretty sure it was just like a blocking drill what they're doing, but yeah, he was limping afterwards. But moving on, Denzel Mims and Alexander Madison are both on the trade block. They have both been in recent trade discussions. I know Mims himself requested a trade, while the Vikings themselves were just taking calls on Madison. Um, yeah, I don't know many places where Mims could go where his fantasy value would rise right now because, like, yeah, he was a good athlete. He was selected somewhat early in the draft, but to me right now, he's just nothing more than a roster clogger, um, just with upside. That's all he really is to me. Madison, on the other hand, there's a few teams that he could go to um, and gain fantasy value to me because Dalvin Cook's obviously going to get a lot of the touches. But I mean, if you say take Madison, trade him to the Saints as their power back, and you could kind of try to recreate that Kamara Ingram from a few years ago, and instead just have Kamara and Madison. If you send them to the Bills, Bills are always a great place that people love to send their running back hypotheticals. But I don't know if a trade will actually get done, especially at this point of the offseason, but they're in discussions.
yeah, for Mims, he had his chance. If he couldn't beat out Jameson Crowder or anyone else in that lineup, its future's pretty bleak with him. But that's about as much as I have to say. But for Madison, he's a very intriguing handcuff backup running back. Like he's valued year in and year out as the top backup guy that you want to draft. To see him possibly move to another team, it's going to be interesting because he was very valued because of Dalvin Cook's injury history and how well he's played in replacement to Dalvin Cook. So if he moves to a team like the Buffalo Bills, which is a crowded RB room and all fairly young and too young to call them injury prone. So it might get a little foggy. I do like the comp of the Mark Ingram role and the Saints. I mean, I think Mark Ingram's still on the Saints, so that might.
Yeah, he went back to the Saints, but I mean, how old is he now?
Yeah,
He's been
I
up there.
taking Madison over Ingram 10 out of 10 times. But yeah, I kind of hope he stays with the Vikings though, because I like where his value is right there, and I'm very comfortable drafting him later.
Yeah, I mean, if Dalvin Cook goes down with an injury or anything like happens to him, like Madison's like automatically like a top 15, probably top 10 running back in fantasy. So yeah, he's priced pretty good where he's at. There's not many places where he could gain value because he's always going to be like that running back two on an offense, but there's definitely places where he could fit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, an actual trade that happened, LaVisca Chenault got traded to the Panthers. It's just a mess there. It's DJ Moore and just a bunch of other guys. Like you got Robbie Anderson there, you got Terrace Marshall there. Now you got LaVisca Chenault. So I liked Chenault the player. I liked him a lot last year, but didn't really do much in Jacksonville. Which I mean, part of that was the coaching staff and everything like that. But yeah, I don't know how much this how much this does for him. I don't think it moves the needle too much for me.
No, it doesn't. He's still undraftable for me. He was so slow last year. Struggled to earn snaps and valuable snaps in a Jaguars offense last year, which says a lot.
I mean, he got beat out by Laquan Treadwell, so
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. It's just no point of. I know some people like to see a resurgence. I mean, I will. He might be a Cordell Patterson, where in 9 years he finally finds the team in which knows how to use them, and his fantasy value randomly shoots up. Who knows what player he's going to be? But as of right now, no, not draftable.
now one of the biggest surprise of the week so far, I think, is the whole Jimmy Garoppolo staying in San Francisco. He restructured his contract where he's now staying in San Francisco for this year. He's got no trade clause and no franchise tag clause. So likely it's just going to be a one and done. He's out next year. But it's just crazy that I know earlier in the offseason they said that they had an offer of 2 third-round picks. I don't think they did. They've been trying to trade him all offseason. They just nobody wants him with the off-season shoulder surgery, everything like that. I know the Colts, they didn't want him because of that reason for the off-season shoulder surgery, because they went through it with luck, and they saw where that went to. So, which, I mean, they lucked out anyway getting Matt Ryan. But either way, Jimmy G staying in San Francisco. For those thinking that this is doing anything for Trey Lance, it isn't, because they put so many.
Top 10.
Yeah, Trey Lance is still the guy. They put so many incentives, if you look at Jimmy G's contract now, to where he has to play like 25% of the snaps in games to be able to earn money. So they're working their way to where it's Trey Lance, but they are giving Jimmy G incentives in case something would happen to Trey Lance, or Trey Lance isn't the guy that they thought he was. But yeah, it's Trey Lance season.
2/3 for Jimmy G.
Yeah.
That, like, if you're gonna make a bluff, at least like make it believable, right?
Yeah. Two third-round picks. I don't think anybody's offering it. Sony Michelle signed with the Chargers. I know Isaiah Spiller's been injured this training camp, so it's probably just more running back insurance than anything. I know Spiller just returned to practice today, actually. So, but yeah, Sony Michelle is not a bad backup to have. For those thinking this does anything to Austin Eckler, just know Austin Eckler's still the guy. Sony Michelle might spell him every once in a while, but I don't think it's going to be very much.
Yeah, but if that hamstring, Eckler's hamstring starts bugging him again, definitely Spiller. I would take Spiller over Sony Michelle. I know that might be me picking the new shiny toy, but I mean, to be real, Sony Michelle's not that exciting. And
we saw him last year with the Rams. He was all right, but he wasn't like anything like the first round pick he was hyped up to be.
Yeah, and I don't know, when you play fantasy, and especially with those backup running backs and that are kind of fighting to see who gets that main spot after the starter drops down, you're always going to go after the guy with the highest ceiling. It makes no sense to draft the guy that you for sure know what he's going to do in that position, because it's not starter worthy. I mean, like, if your team sucks mid-season, you're going to put them at flex. Like, that's just how it's going to roll.
Yeah, for sure. Another running back news. Marlon Mack got released, and he recently just re-signed with the Texans practice squad. So I guess this is Damien Pierce running back 1 season. And while we're on the topic of Damien Pierce, I just got to say, like, I saw this comparison the other day, and I thought it was perfect. But his absolute best case scenario is Elijah Mitchell. If you have him in Dynasty and you can sell him for a next year second or third round pick, or not third, if you can sell him for a second, or like I saw some people get a first for him. Like,
that's insane.
If you get a rookie first, especially in next year's draft class, which is very strong, like, I am smashing that accept button. Like, you don't have
top 12 prospect in next year's draft class for a fourth round running back pick that
Like,
never had experience as a true RB1 in college. Oh yeah, that's
yeah, I like to me, Damien Pierce is just going to be so similar to Michael Carter, where he has all this rookie hype because he's on this bad team, but he's a running back one and he's going to get opportunities. Which, yeah, opportunities are great, but next year he's going to be replaced. And this year, he might not even do that much because he's on a bad offense. I just like people are. I think the hype is being over exaggerated, which I know some people are making jokes with it, like, oh, I just took Damian Pierce 101 type thing. Like, I get
mhm.
people are making like those type of jokes and they're jokes, but I still think that it's being overhyped because I've seen him go in drafts before Chase Edmonds. And to me, it makes no sense. Chase Edmonds is on a better team, on a better offense. He's getting paid more money. He's still the running back one. He's going like Damian Pierce might not even get the passing down work on the Texans because they got Rex Burkhead and I forget who else. Oh, I know who they have, but I don't remember the name. But either way, they got other running backs on that roster that they probably will use as a pass catching back. So to me, Chase Edmonds, I still think is going to like score a lot more points than what Damian Pierce will. So like I like the guy because he's getting opportunities, and I know it's fun because he's young, he's new, he's flashy, he's the guy. But I think it's just getting almost too overhyped.
Yeah, I mean, I might not agree with the amount of points compared to Chase Edmonds and Pierce, but what I can agree with is the value of the ADP. It's skyrocketing, and it should be closer to Edmonds for sure.
Oh, I agree. It
It
should be like around that area. Like I feel like they would be on the same tier if you're doing like a tier list for like this year. But yeah,
You know what? People just ride the hype, I guess, and they'll suffer the consequences of drafting him in the fourth round. So I'm fine with that.
yeah. If you guys are taking them that early, like I want in your league. Like,
Yeah.
like let me in. David Montgomery, apparently his fit in the Bears system was met with skepticism. This was a weird report that I saw earlier today, but I don't know how true this is. I'm still kind of like, I like David Montgomery. Like, he's always undervalued to me, he's always underrated. But this offense is going to be bad. And if they feel like they want to give more to Khalil Herbert, then that kind of worries me a little bit. But yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, Theo, but I just thought it was a weird report and I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I just looked it up. His consensus RB ranking half PPR on Fantasy Pros is number 17. Um, I mean, usually around that range is where you get the low tier RB1s. I mean, sometimes they trickle down into the low 20s, but if you truly believe in this report that Khalil Herbert fits more of Justin Fields' style, which I do, but I also believe that David Montgomery is a better running back. He's above average. He gets the job done. He's proven that gotten the job done. So I guess it's a toss up to see how much you know, how much you believe, and how much you value pass catching back in an offense with Justin Fields, or if you value a true runner that can really punch it in when needed to be.
Yeah, I gotta say, David Montgomery, like, I know what was it like a couple years ago where he was like a top 10 fantasy back, but like he's underrated to me a lot, but he's always in that running back dead zone that a lot of people like to call it. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, this just happened yesterday when you guys are watching it tomorrow for us. But Jalen Rager got traded to the Vikings. Now, I know I mentioned this on Twitter. This does not move the needle much for me because Justin Jefferson's the guy. Adam Thielen's still the wide receiver too. But it does intrigue me. Like, say if Adam Thielen's out the door pretty soon, maybe Jalen Reagor can step up for that wide receiver two role. I know Theo's putting the sleep emoji because, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's just not much. Yeah, doesn't really move the needle at all.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say other than I think it's funny that the Eagles took him right before Justin Jefferson, and now the Vikings have both of them. So it's I don't know what the dynamics is going to be. I'm kind of interested. I mean,
I
this
gotta
could be
say,
a
that video is going around of where the Vikings were laughing that
yo.
the Eagles did not take Justin Jefferson, and now the guy that they took is on the team as well.
It's almost as if they knew already. They're like, this guy is probably gonna be on our team in the next 2 or 3 years, and sure enough,
What did amaze me the most, I think, about this trade was the fact that the Eagles got more in return for Jalen Reagor than what the Cowboys did for Amari Cooper.
that is. I mean,
Like
probably
that's
contracts play into that. I
right,
mean,
right.
I don't really have the information in front of me, so I'm assuming contracts really played into that, but that fact is absolutely wild.
Yeah, I gotta say, I know it's most likely the contract situation because Cowboys are eating that Zeke contract that is
Mm.
just so awful right now for them. But yeah, just just for the like tier gap in like terms of receiver that those two are, and the fact that Jalen Reagor went for more is just astonishing. And last but not least, Trey Sermon officially waived from the 49ers. Now, I've seen multiple DMs that people are surprised by this cut. And to me, the writing's been on the wall like a long time. Last year, week one, I know I put this on Twitter. Last year, week one, he was in dead all gas. He didn't play a snap. And he lost his job to Elijah Mitchell because Elijah Mitchell took it and ran with it. Then Elijah Mitchell was out 2 weeks early in the season. I believe it was week 3, week 4. And Trey Sermon just did not impress. Um, then Elijah Mitchell came back, took the starting running back role again. And then later in the season, weeks like 13 to 16, Mitchell was out again. And who do they go to? They go to Jeff Sermon, who came off of IR just recently before then. This preseason, Jeff Wilson was the starter for some of these preseason games, while Trey Sermon played like into the second half. I just like I know some reports were saying that he was going to be the running back two in San Francisco, but if you watch what the 49ers were doing, you should have known that Trey Sermon was on the outs. They also drafted that Davian Davis,
TDP. You can
yeah,
just call him
TDP. Yeah,
TDP.
let's say TDP. Um, somewhat early. It was like in those middle rounds. So yeah, Trey Sermon was out the door already.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like him heading into the draft. He got drafted to the 49ers, which I was like, okay, I know that system. They like to rotate their backfield. So maybe he might be worth something. And then you saw him play last year and you're like, no, you have Elijah Mitchell. Was drafted later and looked way better than Sermon. And that's just the way it rolls, I guess. That's how the cookie crumbles. Trey Sermon waived, out there to be picked up by anybody else, ready to be the RB3 on any team.
I gotta say, I'm really curious on if he actually does get picked up by somebody. I'm sure he might just for the fact of the upside, because I mean he was a third round pick, but I don't know. I don't really know of a place that would benefit from it.
Yeah,
Like no place really stands out to me that they could use a guy like Trey Sermon. Like why not just go out there and sign Philip Lindsay? Like like I know you're a Philip Lindsay guy, and I know
don't
Phil,
mention that. That still hurts. Okay, it still hurts.
but it's just amazing. Like yeah, yeah. Trey Sermon probably might not be on a roster. He might be on a practice squad or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anyway, we will move on to our hot takes segment. I know I wrote down a couple, and Theo has one of his own. My second one was more just because I've been hyping him up all off season. I just had to throw it in there. But my first hot take of this season is I believe Cole Kmet will be a top 5 tight end this year. And I know this is kind of hot because his ADP is a lot lower than tight end 5. You can get him towards the end of your drafts. One of my favorite tight end targets this year. I know I've said this before, I'll say it again. Whenever you're doing tight ends in your drafts, you either want one of those top elite guys like a Kyle Pitts, like a Mark Andrews, like a Travis Kelce, or you want to wait until like the last round. Because those guys that you get in those middle rounds, they just don't return on where you're drafting them compared to like the wide receivers in that range, the running backs in that range. So because like you look like the difference between like a mid tight end 1 and the tight end 12, which is the end of the tight end 1, is so minimal that you shouldn't be having to draft him that much earlier. But the reason why I think Cole Kmet will be a top 5 tight end, he's going to year 3. Year 3 are normally the breakout year for tight ends. He's developing with Justin Fields really well. He's basically the second receiving option on that offense. Like, I know the Bears claimed the most waiver pickups for that first day. None of them were a wide receiver. Like, just astonishing on how little they are giving Justin Fields to work with. So there's going to be a lot of targets that are going to Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. Huge shout out to Dave Kolge on Twitter at Dave Kolge, Kluge. He put out a tweet that says, over the last decade, garnering 125 targets has an 84% hit rate of producing a top 3 fantasy tight end. And then he said, this is obviously a Cole Kmet tweet. Like, Cole Kmet could easily hit that 125 targets. Because, I mean, who else are they going to? Like we mentioned already, David Montgomery isn't really a receiving back. Like,
Byron
Khalil
Pringle.
Herbert. Yeah, Byron Pringle, he can catch him. Wide receiver 2 season. Yeah. I'm a big believer in Cole Kmet this year. I am trying to draft him almost everywhere I can. But yeah, top 5 season. I'm saying, just saying. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm a huge Cole Kmet fan too. I got him on my favorites list. He's in my top 10. But I have to play devil's advocate here, and I have to ask this. So out of Travis Kelce, Mark
I knew this was going to
Andrews,
come up.
Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, and you could switch off here at number 5, Darren Waller or Dalton Schultz. I don't know which one you favor more. But out of those 6, what tight end is most likely going to get kicked out?
I'd say Darren Waller just because of all the competition that he has. He's also getting older. He's had injury issues in the past, which I know I'm one of those big guys, don't predict injuries, but it happens. And the older you get, the more likely they are to occur. But to me, Darren Waller, I think, is an easy regression candidate. And then also Dalton Schultz, while I really do like him, I can also see him not being a top 5 tight end just because we saw it happen only once out of him. Michael Gallup, I know if he comes back early in the season, which sounds like he might, Dalton Schultz might not make that top 5 list.
Yeah, and thank you for name dropping Michael Gallup because I want this as a PSA. Draft Michael Gallup, please. Where he's at right now, I've been able to scoop him up like in the late rounds, and it's unbelievable because he's not even on the pup list anymore, and he's the wide receiver 2 to Dak Prescott. So I'm like, oh, and he's a big body and he's a really good contested catch receiver.
His ADP is way too low.
Mm-hmm.
It amazes me because, I mean, Worst case scenario, you get him and you can put him on your IR for the first week. Like, and you're basically getting him for free. Like CD Lamb, you're spending a high second round pick on, or you can get Michael Gallup for free, basically
Mm-hmm.
later on in drafts. Yeah, draft Michael Gallup. There's no reason not to.
I think I got like an 80% exposure on him in best ball, which is like I've already done about 12 drafts in best ball, but not as many as a lot of other expert fantasy players out there. But 80%, that's telling me something for sure and how much I like him. Um, I'm gonna go on to my hot take now. Uh, another candidate for negative regression, other than Darren Waller, I have is Keenan Allen. I believe that Keenan Allen is the fourth best Charger to own in fantasy. Of course, you have Justin Herbert as the quarterback. He's in a lot of people's top five. He's my rank number 4. You have Austin Eckler, who's going in the first round as well. Well, I mean, Justin Herbert, super flex first round, but Austin Eckler, first round in general. He's ranked as my number 4 in that position, too. But I have Mike Williams. I think he can definitely have a chance to finish above Keenan Allen. I don't think so. I pretty much believe so. And I have a couple stats to back me up. But first, I want to give some background on Keenan Allen because right now at half PPR, Keenan Allen is ranked overall 28th and is the wide receiver 10. My personal rank for Keenan Allen is 14. Now, I have Keenan Allen ahead of Mike Williams, but that's just because of how I do my rankings. I play my rankings fairly safely, and I know Mike Williams' inconsistencies in the past have sort of made him very difficult to own in fantasy, and the floor in Keenan Allen is pretty safe. I will admit that. But at the end of this season, I do think Mike Williams is going to be a better fantasy player than Keenan Allen. So the stats that I got, Keenan Allen had the lowest percentage of snaps lined up on the outside in his career last year with 37%, while having the highest percentage of snaps from the slot at 63%. His yards per route run has been steadily declining. He went from 2.01 in 2019, 1.91 in 2020, and 1.78 last year. And he had the lowest yards after catch per reception in his career at 3.4. And that is around a whole yard less than his career average. Now, that's the regression stats of Keenan Allen that he's shown in the last 2 or 3 years. Now, as I have to back up Mike Williams here if I'm going to say that Mike Williams is going to be better than Keenan Allen. So Mike Williams has played 83% of his snaps on the outside as the team's X receiver, the main guy that will score the touchdowns, the go routes, the big plays. He's right there. He had around 2 yards per route run. And I know this might be a little shaky to compare since I'm going Keenan Allen first and then Mike Williams. So you could probably rewind and compare it after I say it. So yes, 2 yards per route run, and he had 5.5 yards after the catch per reception, which is about 2 yards more than Keenan Allen. I'll save you the rewind time. And averaged 3 yards more in average depth per target, ADOT, than Keenan Allen. He caught 9 touchdowns compared to Allen's 6 last year. And my final point is Keenan Allen is 30 years old, 2 years older than Mike Williams, but has 5 more seasons of NFL tagged on his body, which, I mean, I know early on in his career, he was considered injury prone, but after being higher than the wrong side of 30 and only getting older, I don't see this as a year where Keenan Allen finishes above Mike Williams. So I have Keenan Allen as the fourth best Charger.
I do like this because I really also like Mike Williams in fantasy this year. But yeah, I gotta say, with this being your hot take, it was funny because my original hot take that I was thinking about doing was going to say Jaylen Waddle finishes higher than Tyreek Hill. And I was like, nah,
Mm.
that's almost too hot. I know I've heard people talk about it, which I mean, I do think it's a possibility that it could happen. But no, I gotta say, we've seen a slow decline with Keenan Allen, like you were talking about. It hasn't been like a drop off like we've seen in some receivers in the past, but this definitely could be the year where the baton is passed and there's a new wide receiver one in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't think Keenan Allen's ever gonna really drop off like below wide receiver 30.
I gotta say, it's not going to be like a Dez Bryant where like he's one of the best and then all of a sudden, poof, just
Yeah.
gone. Or like
I
Allen
mean,
Robinson last year. Like,
yeah, Keenan Allen's floor and his skill is way too good to drop off. But it's that Mike Williams is at that prime age. He's on the right side of 30. He's got that new big contract he signed, and Justin Herbert is only getting better. That arm's only getting bigger. It's just so perfectly set up for Mike Williams, who's played so many more of his snaps on the outside compared to Keenan Allen, who's played in the slot mostly. And I know the Chargers are very analytical based. You had that like Staley going for fourth down, and I know he's failed so many times, but it just goes to show how analytical their mindset is. And going for that deep ball is a huge part of successful analytical football. And all the stars aligned for Mike Williams to be better than Keenan Allen.
yeah, no, I gotta say, I love it. I know I've taken Mike Williams multiple times. I know I've shown you whenever I could get him later
Yeah.
than what I was thinking. But yeah, moving on to my last hot take, which I don't think it's even that hot of a take personally, but it is based on his ADP.
After
But
the Lindsey news, it's gotten a little less hot, but I will say, compared to the rest of the fantasy community, I'd say it's pretty hot still.
I gotta say, compare like in the Colts world, probably not as
No.
hot as what it is in the fantasy community. But like, I think Naheem Hines is going to finish as a running back two. Whenever I say running back two, that means a top 24. Um, and it's crazy, but his ADP right now is running back 45. Like, you're not telling me that there's 44 running backs scoring more points than him. Because,
Especially in half PPR and PPR. I'm sorry. I had a
no, you're good. Yeah, like, yeah, if you're in full PPR, like, why? I mean, last year he was running back 49, and that was his career low in targets and receptions. Career low. Career low. This year he's obviously going to get more because he's with a quarterback that will throw to the running back more. Naheem Hines has been working with the wide receiver, so he's going to catch more passes, which is good for you in PPR. You want those. We look at just 2 years ago with Philip Rivers. He was a running back 15 in PPR. Running back 15. And I'm just saying running back 24. So that's why I'm saying it's really not that hard to take. Um, like Theo said, Philip Lindsay got released. So not only is Naheem Hines the pass catching running back, primary pass catching running back, he's going to get more receiving work, but he is also now the primary backup running back. Because yes, Deion Johnson's still on the 53-man roster, but he's mainly there just for special teams. He's not there as a backup running back. Um, like Frank Reich even mentioned, like, hey, I would take Naheem Hine in fantasy this year. Like, I'm not a fantasy person, but I would take him. So his contract is also he's being paid a lot more than backup running backs in the league. I just think this is a smash year for him. I think he's made to have a running back 2 season this year.
Yeah, isn't he paid as a top 15 running back in the NFL
I
right
think
now?
it's like 16. I think it's like
Okay, well,
right on that line though. Like right
yeah.
in that area.
And with Frank Reich saying that about Hines, he if an old man tells you that has never played fantasy before to draft one of his players for fantasy, that come on, like that's got to set off some signals here. I
It's
don't
telling
see
you how much
any.
they want to use him. Like
Yeah, I don't see any other head coach saying that about their players. I mean, damn, it would be nice to have that. It'd be like if every head coach is able to say like, "Hey, I'll draft this receiver." Oh my god, fantasy would be so much easier. I
it'd be
don't
so
think we would even
nice.
be making the show. Like,
No.
if that's how it was run, it would just be a breeze. But unfortunately, it's not. And Frank Reich is giving us a little cookie heading into the season on how well he's doing. I like that one.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think Hines will get a career high in receptions this year alone. So it's just, I mean, everything's pointing to him having a career year.
Do you have his
And
career high right now?
if I have those stats, I
Yeah.
do. His career high is 76 target, or no, he had 81 targets his rookie year. Um, he's had 63 receptions twice. His career high in receiving yards is 482 with 4 receiving touchdowns. But that was with Philip Rivers. Most of that,
Mm,
pretty much all of that was Philip Rivers, except for the 81 targets his rookie year.
yeah. And I think the one big thing that might scare people off is everybody assuming that the Colts offense will be run primarily through Jonathan Taylor, which it still will be,
Right.
but not to the extent as it was last season. And people who like more casual fantasy players might see that and be worried about a Naeem Hines pass catching back role. But even casual Colts fans will tell the casual fantasy football fan that that's not true.
I gotta say, it's like I get he's behind Jonathan Taylor, who was the running back 1 last year. Like I get that, but I know I've said it before, but Jonathan Taylor was the lowest scoring running back 1 since Devonta Freeman like a decade ago. Like it's not like he blew things out of the park. It's not, and last year a lot of his success came from the Colts' distrust in Carson Wentz. We saw like early in the season, like Carson Wentz had more work, he had more passing work. And then as the season went on, it was more handing more to Jonathan Taylor, because they just trusted him more to get the plays done than what they did Carson Wentz, which is sad to say,
Yeah.
but that's how the Colts offense was going.
Like that one stat with Jonathan Taylor is like the Colts were undefeated whenever he had over 100 rushing yards. That pretty much tells it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say that I know like Frank Reich has mentioned they don't want to run Jonathan Taylor to the ground. Like they're going to do what's best for the offense each day. Whether if they're playing someone who has a bad rush defense and they're going to just run Jonathan Taylor 30 times, they might do that. But then the next game they might throw it 50 times. Like this offense is going to be a lot more um, like not just like rushing or passing. They're going to do a bit of both.
Mm-hmm. I don't have much to say, man. I agree with it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I know we did a Colts like riders and beat like reporter like fantasy team or fantasy league between like a bunch of our blue stable guys and then like Jake Arthur, Kevin Bowen, Joel Erickson, guys like that. And Jake Arthur took him in like the 5th round, I want to say. But I mean, he took him as like running back 25. And he was like, "You're not telling me that like 20 other running backs are going to score like a lot more than what he is." Which I mean, kudos to him. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't going to draft him that high, but I mean, if you believe it, like I certainly can see it happening. We've seen it before. But
Yeah, he could have got him a round later. I mean, like you kind of have to weigh how the system works and how other people draft, but I
I gotta
mean,
say,
that's
I get that it was a Colts like league basically. Like everybody's Colts fans, but I
All
wasn't
of them
planning
are
it.
gone by round 10.
Right, I wasn't planning on taking him that high. I was like, oh, okay. But it was weird because like we were all like Colts people, but Paris Campbell went undrafted. He ended up getting picked up like later on during training camp. But yeah, it was. Let me look at this again. Yeah, Hines in the 6th round, middle of the 6th round. Which I mean, took him as his running back 3, which I mean that's fine by me. I
Mhm.
like he's a good running back 3 to me. But yeah. Well, unless you got another one
I
that
do
you want to
not.
talk about real quick.
No, I had one, did more research on it, scrapped it.
Didn't turn
So,
out.
yeah.
I gotta say, one that I kind of wanted to say, but I also didn't because I was scared was I think Jonathan Taylor might not be a top 5 tight end, but or
Wait,
running back,
running back?
running back.
Who you got? Okay, so
I'm saying I'm still taking number 2, like,
yeah.
but I mean, I could see like there's a whole number of players up there. Like I think Saquon Barkley can make a jump up and be one of the top 5
That's
running backs this
true.
year. He's going to get a good workload. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. Like there's plenty of
There's
people
so
that you can let.
yeah.
Najee Harris. Najee Harris is going to get so much work. I mean, there's a lot of those like really good running backs, and just for the fact that Taylor wasn't the highest scoring or was the lowest scoring running back 1 in a decade, along with like you haven't seen a running back 1 repeat since Priest Holmes. Like there's just so many ways where I could see him not being a top 5. I still think that he probably will be, but I just don't know. I think that he's going to probably be
Mhm.
around that fringe running back 5 area.
I really like this because I can't remember a fantasy season, at least in my youthful years, of how many running backs have potential to reach the top 5. And for Jonathan Taylor to try following up, like you said, the worst RB1 season in a decade, it's yeah, I
I
could
gotta say,
definitely see that.
I'm looking at the list right now. So Christian McCaffrey, I think, could outscore him. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon. I didn't even say Joe Mixon earlier, but I think he could. DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Barkley, Kamara, Fournette, even. That's
Are you gonna
about
say
it. But I mean,
Are you gonna say Javante Williams?
I
Top
want
5?
to. I
Are
do
you gonna
want to, but Melvin Gordon there just sucks.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Melvin Gordon, 100%, I think Javante could easily be a top 5 running back. But I still think they're going to split enough to where he probably will score less than Jonathan Taylor. But yeah, that was almost a hot take. I still said it anyway because I still think that is a very good possibility. That's why I'm not as big on drafting like Jonathan Taylor running back like the 101 as most people are. Like as a Colts fan, obviously, like I already have so many shares of Christian McCaffrey fallen to me that yes, if I got the 101, I'd probably take Jonathan Taylor just so that way I could have him on a team because he never makes it to me. I'm a Colts fan. I do want him on like at least one of my teams, but I I don't think that he's going to.
Yeah,
I
I know we try giving sound advice here on who's better than who, but sometimes when you're in those home leagues and you got a favorite team and your player's still up there and you're afraid that he's not going to get back to you a round later, your next pick, just pick him.
yeah,
You're watching him on TV, you see him like get a big play. I guarantee you it's going to be more fun watching that than watching a flex player you decided to put in last second score a touchdown. It's your favorite
right.
team, it's your favorite player. It makes fantasy more fun.
I gotta say, I know like a couple years ago, yeah, it was like 2 years ago. I traded for Michael Pittman, and I was like, I mean, he might break out, he might not, but I was like, I'm just trading for him just because I like the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
I had no Colts players on my dynasty team. I was just like, I want one. Like, so I was like, I'll just trade for Michael Pittman. It's like his cost was low. I was like, if it works, I'm going to be very happy for multiple reasons. So I might as well get him. So, but yeah, I gotta say it. If you have like these favorite players, like I have certain favorite players, like Barkley's one of my favorite players. I just like how he plays. Like DJ Moore, I love DJ Moore. Um, so I get like these guys a little biased towards them. I get them in more leagues just because I like them.
I mean, also be smart with it. You can
Yeah,
reach, but
don't take like a round
I've
ahead.
also been in a home league where one of my friends, who's a Packers fan, took Geronimo Allison in the 4th round. So yeah, you do it with that information as you will. I mean,
I mean, I was in
don't-
a I was in a $10 draft. I know I showed you a few pictures of my team and stuff like that, but Evan McPherson, the kicker, went in
yeah,
the 6th round in that draft.
yeah, just
Like,
people got to know dancing does not earn you fantasy points. All right. It could be Drew Lock, it could be Evan McPherson, but dancing and singing along to songs while you're on the bench does not earn you fantasy points.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that covers us for today. I think we went a little longer than expected,
Yeah,
but
we definitely did. But I mean, it was fun.
I gotta
We
say, it was
had
good talks. It was all good talks.
mhm.
Um, well, do you have anything else for us, Theo? To end off?
Good luck this fantasy season. I know games aren't this weekend, but they are next weekend.
Next Thursday.
Yeah, so
Next week we'll be recording and dropping the episode like
yeah,
literally
so
right before Thursday night football. So
yeah, so I mean, I guess I don't have to wish you good luck on how your players perform, but good luck on how you draft. That's
yeah, a
You're
lot of
definitely
drafts are
gonna need
going to
that.
happen this week. A lot of
Hmm.
drafts. Labor Day weekend too. So enjoy the holiday weekend. I know
Yes.
there's going to be a lot of fantasy drafts, especially because you got that added day. But yeah, good luck. Hope hope you can smash it. If you got any really good drafts that you're proud of, send them to us. I'm pretty sure this is the left side of your screen, but either way, go follow us on Twitter. Go drop us a tweet or message saying like a screenshot of your fantasy team, or even in the comments, just tell us in the comments who you got on your team. Always interested to hear like all these different teams that happen. Always love like seeing them. I'd be more than happy to give you my input on it. But yeah,
I'll give you a C minus and move on.
and move on. Yeah, it will be like those draft grades that happen after your fancy draft and your emails say,
Yes.
oh, you're going to go like 2-15, and then you end up going like undefeated.
Hmm.
I always love those. But either way, until next week, guys, it's been the fancy table, and goodbye.